Your mother doesn't know what she's talking about. You spend every other weekend with me.
I hate you. No stupid judge is gonna tell me what to do. I can make my own decisions. Mom is all I need. I hate you and I never want to come back here again. You're not a real father and you never have been.
I don't understand. What happened? Am I such a bad father? Do I deserve this? How can she go from loving me to hating me? What happened to the sweet little girl I used to know?
You are watching this show because someone thinks there could be a problem in your family. You may not like a parent very much. You may not want to spend time with that parent. Or maybe you haven't seen that parent for a long time. Or maybe someone is worried that you might reject a parent. We call this problem alienation.
Alienation happens most in families where a child's parents live apart from each other. Experts estimate that as many as 250,000 children suffer from this problem, and it affects not just the children and the parent they're rejecting, because very often when a child rejects one parent, he or she will reject grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, an entire side of their family. It's a terrible tragedy for everyone.
What is alienation? Not a nation of aliens. Alienated doesn't mean an alien ate something. It doesn't mean an alien was eaten by something else, and alienated doesn't mean someone was turned into an alien. So what does alienation really mean? Alienation is when you don't like someone that used to be important to you. Alienation isn't just losing interest or being bored with what you used to like. When you're alienated, you have strong negative feelings, such as feeling disillusioned or disappointed.
Feeling disappointed or disillusioned is a key part of what it means to feel alienated. Another feeling that goes along with being alienated is anger, sometimes even hatred toward the person being rejected.
If you feel this way, you may also feel lonely, sad, and isolated. You've lost a connection to a person who loves you. In a way, it's like feeling grief when someone dies. You used to be able to enjoy someone, and now you can't. Alienation hits many people and can happen in many different ways. Everyone has felt it at one time or another. Sometimes all it takes to feel alienated is to feel different. You might start to feel alienated from a group that you used to feel part of. Some teenagers feel alienated, cut off from their peers. You may know some students in your school who feel this way. On the news, you may see groups of people protesting a government from which they feel alienated. But the worst kind of alienation is feeling alienated from yourself. This show is about one kind of alienation, parent alienation, when children feel very angry and want to stay away from one of their parents. If you feel this way, you may refuse to spend any time with that parent, and when you do have contact, you might be rude or misbehave. We use 3 terms to describe different degrees of alienation. The first term, disillusioned, is for less severe cases, usually children in the early stages of becoming alienated. Children who are disillusioned still spend time with that parent, but they start rejecting that parent. For instance, when parents get divorced, both have made mistakes, but disillusioned children might blame only one parent. Or they may start to feel disillusioned when a parent gets a boyfriend or girlfriend. The second term is alienated. If you are alienated, you still have contact with your parent, but you don't want to. Alienated children have almost nothing nice to say about the parent they reject. The third term is for the most severe cases, estranged. If you are estranged, not only do you feel alienated, but you no longer have contact with the parent. When children feel alienated from one parent, they often feel very close and loyal to the other parent, called the favored parent. They describe their favored parent as just about nearly perfect. The parent that alienated children don't like is the rejected parent. Alienated children say mainly bad things about that parent. Some rejected parents act so bad that we understand why their children become alienated. For instance, if the parent is often violent or shows little interest in the child, we call this realistic alienation. But if a child used to enjoy being with a parent and doesn't have good reasons for not liking that parent anymore, we call the alienation unrealistic. Even though outsiders may say the alienation is unrealistic, alienated children often insist that their rejection is reasonable, and they blame that parent for all the family problems. Children who are unrealistically alienated usually share their favored parent's negative attitudes about the rejected parent. If this is how you feel, all we ask is that you keep an open mind and be willing to learn more about this problem. Some children figure out what's happening when a parent tries to turn them against the other parent. These children don't like being manipulated and resent parents who badmouth. We call this blowback because a parent's efforts to turn their children against the other parent backfire. In some families, both parents badmouth each other. In fact, some children feel like both parents are acting more like kids than like grown-ups. These children sometimes get so fed up that they end up deeply disappointed in both parents. Now you know the words to understand this problem. Disillusioned, alienated, estranged, to describe how bad the problem is, realistic and unrealistic, to decide whether the bad feelings are justified, favored parent and rejected parent, to know which parent we're discussing, and blowback, to describe children who reject a parent doing the bad-mouthing. You may be wondering what all this has to do with Pluto. For 76 years, Pluto was part of our family of planets. Then one day in 2006, astronomers decided Pluto was not worthy of being considered a planet. One day Pluto was in, the next day it was out. Demoted, disrespected. Sound familiar? Not only does Pluto symbolize alienated parents who have been demoted by their children, it also symbolizes the emotional and physical distance between alienated children and their rejected parents. If you have cast a parent out of your family, or are thinking about this, or someone else thinks it would be okay, we hope this program will give you another perspective. We can't do anything about Pluto, but maybe, just maybe, we can help you get back or keep the family you deserve. You're watching this show because someone worries that you or one of your brothers or sisters might become alienated or is alienated. Maybe you hear a lot of bad things about one of your parents. Maybe you don't like one parent very much or act like you don't. Maybe you don't even want to spend time with one parent. Here are some things we know about alienated children. Ask alienated children about their parents, and most will say that one is good and the other one is bad.
Everything good in my life comes from Mom. She's all about being a mom, and I know she's always there for me. My life would be perfect if I didn't have to see my dad. You don't believe what a jerk he is. Think about the opposite of a good dad. That's my dad.
Like the computer geek who can't hit a baseball, everyone has strengths and weaknesses. That's part of what makes us who we are. But if you're alienated, you see only faults in the rejected parent. You don't pay attention to the good things. At the same time, you might think only of the good things that your other parent does and forget all their faults. When reminded about good times with the rejected parent, alienated kids say, "I was just pretending. I didn't really feel that way." Or, "I didn't know any better then. I was too young. Now I can see through his act." Their feelings about the rejected parent can be summed up in one word: contempt.
My father is as evil as a dictator. He made me see a tutor after school. Can you believe that? I need time with my friends, not some stupid tutor.
If you're alienated, like Emily, you might get mad when others don't take your complaints seriously. Until Emily learned how to see things more clearly, she was frustrated that others didn't agree that she should reject her dad. Another girl said she hates her mom and never wants to see her again because her mother makes her finish her homework before she can watch TV. Can you see why we describe reasons like these like a house of cards? They fall apart with just a little puff of reason and common sense.
Children who are convinced that they have good reasons to reject a parent don't want to hear anything different, whether it comes from a relative, a teacher, a counselor, or even a program such as this.
When people told Emily nice things about her dad, she said, "You don't know him like I do. He's fooled you like he fools everyone." At first, Emily hated the idea of counseling because she figured she would not be taken seriously. She thought it was just another way for her dad to make her miserable. You may feel the same way if your parents or a judge want you to see a counselor. Over time, Emily was able to step back and listen to herself. Then she realized, and was mature enough to admit, that her complaints about her father were exaggerated and sounded just like her mother's complaints about him. Before Emily figured things out, she said a lot of mean things about her dad, but she didn't feel guilty or care about how he felt. Alienated children sometimes demand that the rejected parent spend extra money on them, but they don't say thank you or spend time with the parent or even talk to them on the phone. As a result, rejected parents often feel used and unappreciated.
When children criticize the rejected parent, to others these complaints sound overdramatic, exaggerated, even rehearsed, as though the children were delivering a script. Oftentimes, children talk about adult issues using adult language, maybe things they've heard from others in the family.
If he wanted to be a real parent, he would give Mom and me more child support instead of buying stuff for his new girlfriend.
To justify their rejection of a parent, some children will complain about events that they couldn't possibly remember. For example, a teenage girl said that when she was being born, her dad was in the delivery room and he was drunk and out of control. Or children will complain about things that are so unrealistic to expect a child to be concerned about. A 6-year-old boy complained that his father spent too much money buying toys for him. A little girl complained that her grandparents had too much money. These were complaints that she heard from adults and then repeated them as if they were her own.
If you've been saying a lot of bad things about one of your parents, people might say that someone else must have put these ideas in your head. Like other alienated children, you probably insist that the ideas and the opinions are your own, that no one has influenced you to have a bad point of view, that you alone have reached these harsh conclusions.
What are you saying? You think Mom brainwashed me? How stupid do you think I am? You think I'm lying, don't you? I think for myself. I know what I'm talking about.
A lot of children like Emily feel they have to protect the favored parent. Even though they act comfortable with the favored parent, many alienated children secretly fear that the favored parent will disapprove if they don't turn against the other parent. If you feel like Emily, you may have tried to reassure your favored parent that you would never leave them. Many children learn to please their favored parent by saying bad things about the other parent.
When alienated children spend time with the rejected parent, they treat that parent with utter contempt. They're hostile toward that parent. They may cuss at the rejected parent. They tell the rejected parent that they hate them. They disobey the rejected parent. In some cases, children complain that the mere thought of spending time with that parent makes them sick. The children may threaten violence toward themselves, or they may actually be violent toward the parent, or they may run away from the rejected parent. In general, children make it very difficult for the rejected parent to be around them and to enjoy spending time with them.
Before Emily figured things out, she tried to stop Dad from making her come to his house. Just before leaving to go back to Mom, she used the bathroom and would not flush the toilet. She hoped he'd be so disgusted when he saw this that he wouldn't want her to return. If alienation is a problem in your family, perhaps you mistreat a parent. Or you may do the opposite and withdraw. You might remember times that you refused to go with a rejected parent when you were supposed to. Or you might have stayed in your room as much as possible or refused to eat meals with the family or to have a normal conversation. If your situation is really bad, you may have tried to do what many others have done, turn your back and walk away, perhaps missing out on years of love and support from the rejected parent.
Alienated children are unhappy. They don't like what is happening to them. They don't like the way they're treating the rejected parent. Deep down, they don't like themselves for doing what they're doing. But they feel trapped. They don't know a way out.
You may feel so hopeless about your family situation that you think that watching this is a waste of time, that things can never get better. And maybe they can't. But try this. Keep an open mind, learn what you can about this problem called alienation, and then decide if you can use any of this program's information or tips to make your situation better and happier. How does a favored parent contribute to this tragic problem? First, realize that all parents make mistakes. Some favored parents deliberately try to get you to take sides with one parent against the other, but they may not understand how much this hurts you. Other times, parents don't realize what they're doing to their children. There are two types of mistakes that favored parents make. One mistake is to keep you from seeing or talking to the rejected parent. A parent might not tell you that your other parent called and wants you to call back. Or when the call comes, say that you're too busy with homework or that you're watching a favorite TV program and can't come to the phone. A more extreme method is to refuse to let you go to the other parent's home when you're supposed to, or go on vacation with the other parent.
A lot of parents who don't want their children to spend time with the other parent will deliberately schedule an activity for the children at the same time that they're scheduled to be with the other parent. They may have the child spend the night at a friend's house instead of going to the other parent's home.
If this has been a problem in your family, the favored parent may keep making excuses for you to avoid the other parent. After giving you the idea that there is something bad about your other parent, you may be told that it is up to you to decide if you want to see them. Your favored parent may say that it is wrong to force children to spend time with a parent. These parents won't make their children see the other parent, even when this goes against the judge's orders and the law. This might sound reasonable to you. You don't like to be told what you can and cannot do you? But think about this. You don't get to choose whether you go to school, whether you go to the doctor and dentist. You have to wear seatbelts in a car. You're not allowed to drink alcohol. There are many times when you are forced to do things that you might not choose if you were in charge. Why should children be put in charge of something as important as spending time with a parent? Parents can also keep you from the other parent by abruptly taking you away from an activity if the other parent comes to watch, or not telling your other parent about school or extracurricular activities that they would want to attend. Children learn from these actions that one parent thinks it's not very important for you to see and enjoy spending time with the other parent.
Some favored parents don't realize that what they're doing is interfering with the children's relationship with the other parent. But other favored parents know exactly what they're doing. They do it deliberately, and they try to manipulate their children to turn against the other parent. For example, in one family, a father would send airplane tickets so that his children could spend some summer vacation with him, and the mother would hide the airplane tickets and tell the children that the tickets never arrived. She figured that if the children thought their dad didn't care about them, that they would stop caring about him.
A second type of mistake is to encourage you to have negative thoughts and feelings about your other parent. Some parents are so angry and hurt that they don't want their children to even think about the other one. A parent can discourage good memories and feelings by never mentioning the other parent and never looking at or talking to them as if that person never existed. Some angry parents destroy, throw out, or hide things that remind children of the other parent, such as family photos. Some even go so far as to cut out the other parent's picture from family photos. In some cases, parents don't allow children to bring home any gifts or clothing that came from the other parent. Sadly, these children learn that reminders of the rejected parent are unwelcome. One of the most common ways that a parent might try to influence your attitude is to openly criticize the other parent.
Emily's dad is the worst dad in the whole universe. He only is nice to her to make himself feel good.
There are times, of course, that parents have to tell their children negative things about the other parent. If a parent has a serious problem, children need to know why they can only have limited contact with that parent. But if one parent criticizes the other not to protect you, but because of angry or hurt feelings, they may severely damage your view of the other parent. This is called bad-mouthing or bashing. And you may not think so, but some people think this is cruel.
One way to paint a negative picture of the other parent is to put down the things that parent likes to do with the children. A parent might say bowling is for idiots, or camping trips are too dangerous, or what kind of shirt is that your mom bought you? Only an idiot would wear a shirt like that. And the children begin wondering if they are idiots if they enjoy those activities or enjoy those gifts from that parent.
Another way to encourage a negative view is to tell you to watch for any mistakes that the other parent makes. When you keep a sharp eye out for negatives, you're likely to miss seeing the positives. It's like wearing blinders, seeing only one thing and being blinded from seeing anything else.
We call this selective attention, paying careful attention to the things that support your point of view and ignore the things that don't support your point of view. It's what magicians do when they do tricks. They get you to look at one hand so that you don't see what the other hand is doing. It's what politicians do when they paint a very negative picture of their opponents. All you hear about are the mistakes the opponent makes, nothing about the good things they've done.
Sometimes favored parents lead children to think that the rejected parent is dangerous. They might even accuse the other parent of harming or abusing the children. When this happens, government agencies have to investigate.
In some families, when a child says something nice about the rejected parent, the favored parent lets the child know they disapprove of that. They don't want to hear nice things about the rejected parent, and so the child learns to hide those positive feelings. Children may even be made to feel ashamed if they enjoyed spending time with the rejected parent. Sometimes children feel so guilty for enjoying time with the rejected parent that they stop enjoying that time. They work very hard not to have a good time with that parent so that when they come home they can report that it was really bad being over there.
When parents criticize the other one, often they talk a lot about the past. If one of your parents is exceptionally mad, they might make you think that even good things about the other parent are really bad. Instead of being glad that a boy's mother had a very important job in a hospital, one angry dad told his son, "Your mom is only interested in her work. She didn't have time for you or me." A mother told her daughter, "Yeah, your dad helped you with your homework a lot, but that's because he didn't want you to learn to do things for yourself." To convince you that your other parent is a bad person. Some parents will tell you that the other one cheated on them or was more interested in their friends than their family. These parents may say, "My child has a right to know the truth." But if you pay close attention, you will notice that the truth always seems to be something bad. You don't hear about good truths, and the truth rarely includes bad things about your favored parent. Pressure builds on children when the favored parent convinces others to join in the campaign of rejection. Relatives and friends of the family, sometimes even teachers and counselors, make the mistake of unfairly judging the rejected parent, like a jury that makes up its mind after hearing only one side of the story.
Along with painting a bad picture of the other parent, some parents mistakenly encourage their children to feel sorry for them or to feel like they need the children to take care of them. They may complain to the children that they've been treated unfairly. They may act very sad when the children talk about the other parent or when the children are getting ready to spend time with the other parent. And so the children feel that they need to be loyal to the favored parent, even at the expense of rejecting their other parent.
If one of your parents is upset, you may want to protect them from feeling hurt and sad. One way to do this is by simply not saying anything about the other parent. Some kids act as if the other parent doesn't exist anymore. But when they act like this, children risk losing touch with their own loving feelings. They try to protect one parent by giving up their love for the other. Of course, this is not fair to children, and they lose a lot when they can't love both parents. So we have learned that some favored parents know what they're doing and some don't. But in general, they make two types of mistakes. First, they make it difficult for the children and the rejected parent to see one another. They become less and less part of one another's lives. Second, favored parents say and do things that encourage their children to have bad feelings and thoughts about the rejected parent. If this happens in your family, sometimes all it takes to make things better is for you to ask your parents to stop. It seems odd, but some alienated children stop referring to their parents as dad or mom and instead use the parent's first name.
Some favored parents will begin referring to the child's other parent by first name. The parent will say, "Ellen's on the phone. Do you want to speak with her?" So the children get the idea that they no longer have to respect their mother by using the title mom. They no longer see the parent as a parent, because after all, it's easier to disobey Ellen than it is to disobey mom. It's another example of how children can be influenced by the favored parent without really realizing it. They think the idea originated with them, but in truth, they never called their mom Ellen until their dad started doing so.
Some parents simply tell their children to stop calling the other dad or mom. Often these parents have a new husband or wife, and they want their children to call the step-parent dad or mom. Some mothers are so eager to erase the dad from his children's lives that they try to change the children's last name to their stepfather's name. So, what's in a name? Why are names so important? Particularly names such as father and mother, or grandpa and grandma. Besides life itself, your name was the first thing that your parents gave you. And in most cases, it's the first thing you give to others when you meet them. Your name provides identity. It ties you to family. Names convey respect, but names can also be used to convey disrespect. Names convey affection, but can also communicate contempt. So, what's in a name? Everything. It makes all the difference in the world. Humans, by nature, are curious. We want to know why we do the things we do. That's what the science of psychology is all about. Psychologists ask, why do some parents turn their children against the other parent? To begin with, some parents who disrupt their children's relationship with the other don't do it deliberately. These parents get so caught up in their own feelings that they forget that you need to love both parents. But some do it on purpose. They want their children to stop loving the other parent, or they just don't think it's good for their children to be with the other parent.
Many parents have difficulty trusting each other after they stop living together, and a parent may really worry that the other parent is harming the children or just not doing a good job of taking care of them. They feel that the children need protection from the other parent, and even that the children may be better off not having that parent in their lives.
Some parents try to harm their child's relationship to the other one for personal reasons, not to protect the child. At one time, your parents loved each other enough to have you. But after they split up, your parents may be hurt, angry, and disappointed. In many families, one parent really didn't want the divorce and may be left with a broken heart, feeling hurt that the other one does not want them anymore. Perhaps they feel discarded like an old shoe. One of the most painful hurts is when one of your parents thinks the other one cheated on them. They feel terribly angry and blame the divorce entirely on the other parent.
Divorced parents often feel that they got a raw deal in their settlement. They may feel that the other parent got too much money or gets to spend too much time with the children. In one family, children loved spending time with their father, but their mother thought she wasn't getting enough child support, and when she asked for more money, the father refused to give it to her, and she told him that if he didn't give her more money, then he would never see his children again. And then she told the children that Dad was not giving us enough money to live on. The children started feeling sorry for their mother, and they started feeling angry toward their dad. And eventually, they ended up hating him.
Some parents are so hurt and angry that they want the other one to suffer the way they are suffering. And what better way to make this happen than to take away their children's love for them? Other things can affect how your parents feel about each other and how they feel about you loving the other parent. Those who don't have much money may worry that the other parent will bribe you with expensive vacations and gifts, like a fancy cell phone or the newest game system.
If one parent has a new relationship or remarries, the single parent may worry that the children are going to feel like they have more of a home with the remarried parent and not want to spend as much time with the single parent. In some families, a child may share a special interest with a parent. A daughter may feel closer to her mother, and the dad may worry that for that reason the daughter won't want to spend as much time with him.
All of these worries are natural. But your parents have to learn that you have enough love for both of them, and that you are smart enough to know that spending more money or going on great vacations or having the best home on the block doesn't mean you're going to love them more. Another reason some parents might try to keep you to themselves is that they want complete control. Deciding when and how you will see the other parent is one way to show how much power they have. Some parents think they deserve to have most of the children's time. In extreme cases, parents don't think the children need two parents.
One mother stayed at home during the marriage to take care of the children while the dad worked to earn money for the family. And after the divorce, the dad wanted to start spending more time with the children, and the mother complained that he was a Johnny-come-lately dad. She resented his newly found wish to spend more time with the children. Where were you during the marriage? Why didn't you spend more time with the children then? And the children heard these complaints, and they began echoing them themselves. They said their dad was trying to spend too much time with them, and they ended up rejecting him.
It isn't a very pleasant fact, but some favored parents use the children to try to get more money. One father told the mother, "If you don't agree to my terms on how to divide up our money, you'll never see your kids again." This father loves his children, but he is so afraid of losing money and doesn't think he should have to share, and he is so convinced that he's right that he's willing to harm his children's relationship with their mother to get what he wants. Some parents fail to help their children love and respect the other parent because of pride. Maybe they feel humiliated about the divorce and want to prove that they are the better parent. It's not enough for them to be a good and loving parent. They want to be the only parent, and they feel less important if the children also spend time with the other one. These parents forget how it was during the marriage, when children could love and be loved by both parents. Most children want to keep it this way.
Some parents want to avoid the unhappy feelings from the failed marriage, and they figure the best way to do that is to stop thinking about the other parent and erase that parent from their lives. And in order to do that, they may think that they've got to stop the children from seeing that parent. But of course, they're making a big mistake, because the reality is that the children do have two parents. That was the best part of the marriage. And the children would do much better if they're allowed to give love and receive love from both parents.
Being hurt and angry after divorce is normal. Wanting to hurt the other parent is understandable. But there's a big difference between wanting to hurt someone and actually doing it. Using children to hurt the other parent is a big mistake. Most parents, if they take the time to think about it and don't let their anger get in the way of clear thinking, know that this is a mistake. When you hear one parent saying bad things about the other, remind yourself that your dad or mom could be blowing off steam, but it doesn't mean that the other parent really is bad. We've learned about alienated children and favored parents, but what about rejected parents? How does it feel to be Plutoed, to lose your family and your role as a parent?
Rejected parents feel devastated when their children refuse to spend time with them, stop expressing affection and respect for them. They haven't been prepared for this level of rejection, and they're stunned by it. Oftentimes they're embarrassed, and they worry that others are going to think, gee, you must have done something really bad if your kids don't want to spend time with you. People stop them on the street and ask how their children are doing, and rejected parents don't know because they are not being kept included in the children's activities. And they're very embarrassed. They don't know what to say. They usually try to change the subject. It's psychologically devastating to a parent to have the children that you loved and raised want to have nothing to do with you.
If alienation has been a problem in your family, the rejected parent probably feels most ashamed when ignored or shunned in front of others, such as at school or sports events. When people ask about their children, rejected parents often feel terribly embarrassed, even ashamed. They worry that others secretly think, there must be more to the story. I wonder what they did wrong to deserve their children's disrespect. Parents who have been rejected may begin to doubt themselves. They might ask, did I do something wrong? Maybe I'm not such a good parent.
It's very sad for a rejected parent when they see other parents enjoying their children because it reminds them of all that they're missing out on. They feel like shadows, ignored. They feel shunned by their children, and it's humiliating to them.
If one of your parents is rejected, they're probably trying to figure out how to deal with this. Should I give up? Should I be tough? Walking away feels wrong, even though this might create peace. Hanging in there seems right, but maybe the emotional cost to you and them is just too much to bear. As a result, and you may have noticed this, these parents often act inconsistently. Sometimes they withdraw and seem passive and uninterested in being with you. Other times they try hard to be involved, maybe even going to court, calling the police, or insisting that everyone see a therapist. It may seem like they do too much or too little, which might make them seem unreliable.
In some families, after repeated attempts to reconnect with the children, a rejected parent may get so discouraged that they enter into a state that we call learned helplessness. All their attempts to solve the problems, all their attempts to reach out to their children fail, and they don't know what else to do, and they begin feeling utterly helpless to change the situation. They may feel that they have no alternative but to withdraw from the children, to stop trying. Unfortunately, for some children, when their rejected parent stops trying to see them, the children actually feel abandoned by that parent because they've never really lost the love they felt for that parent. And the children may then think, gee, maybe that parent doesn't deserve our love if he wouldn't hang in there and continue to try to see us. They may misunderstand the parent's withdrawal not as a sign that the parent just didn't know what else to do and felt helpless to solve the problem. They may misunderstand and think that that's a sign that the parent doesn't love them enough. In some situations, particularly when there have been multiple attempts to heal the relationship between children and the rejected parent, and these attempts all fail, there may be no better alternative than to at least accept the situation as it is and temporarily stop trying to heal, stop trying to reconnect, with the hope that sometime in the future the time will be right for the children to recover their love and restore a positive relationship with the parent.
Rejected parents often ask others for advice on how to manage this difficult situation. Sometimes well-meaning friends and relatives encourage parents to respond with anger. You need to teach your ex a lesson. Or how dare your children treat you like that? This can lead parents to overreact in ways that don't help. If your parent responds this way, it might drive you further away rather than make you want to repair the relationship. In fact, rejected parents sometimes need to be reminded that all kids complain about their parents from time to time. Just because a child is moody or negative doesn't automatically mean that the child is becoming alienated. Rejected parents seek advice from professionals, such as lawyers and psychologists.
Rejected parents are often told that the best way to handle their children's rejection is to allow a cooling off period, allow the children to withdraw for a while, wait for the right time to come when the children will reach out to reconnect with you. But unfortunately, in many families, the right time never comes. And what began as an alienation, where the children had negative attitudes about the parent, becomes a total estrangement where the children lose all contact with that parent. One of the most important things for a rejected parent is to try to stay in touch with the children. Try to maintain contact. Now, this may mean having to develop a thick skin, because when the children are with you, they may treat you with contempt and with disrespect. But we found that it's easier to help children recover a positive relationship if they spend time with you and if they get to see that the rejected parent still loves them and is not giving up.
So what can rejected parents do? In the words of Winston Churchill, never, never, never give up. Not giving up, though, requires persistence and understanding. And your parents may not have a lot of that left if they've been rejected over and over. When they lose their patience, and nearly every parent does from time to time, parents make mistakes. The favored parent might exaggerate these mistakes to make it seem like the rejected parent always acts impatiently, or that this is why the children don't want to spend time with the parent.
When children treat a parent so disrespectfully, most often the parent is not at all prepared to deal with that effectively, and they react by overreacting. They get very angry, they lose their temper, they ask the children, "How dare you speak to me that way?" But they can frighten the children when they do that, and then the children can use that as another reason for rejecting the parent, because the parent actually has yelled at them, has been aggressive, and maybe scared the children. In other cases, rejected parents will tell the children, "If you don't enjoy spending time with me, why don't you leave this home and come back when you can be more positive?" And unfortunately, the children may use that as a reason not to see the parent. They'll throw those words back to the parent. "Well, you said you didn't want to see us." And what begins as a parent's effort to improve the relationship and solve the problem can really be the beginning of the end of the relationship. It's very important that rejected parents avoid overreacting to their children and avoid rejecting their children. This means they've got to develop a thick skin, and they've got to develop patience to tolerate what is very disrespectful and contemptuous behavior without losing their temper.
If your parent overreacts, you might worry that this will happen all the time. Or you might think that your attitude finally made your parent stop loving you. Secretly, you might even worry that you are no longer someone who is worth caring about. Another common mistake rejected parents make is to lecture about right and wrong, fair and unfair. While the lesson might be true, lectures rarely work. The more they try to tune you in, the more you try to tune them out. If you've been rejecting a parent, you may be frustrated when it seems like they minimize your concerns and complaints. A rejected parent might say, "Oh, you don't really feel that way," or "That's just your other parent talking, those aren't your real feelings." This too doesn't work. It could make you feel that your parent doesn't care or doesn't take you seriously. If you and a parent are alienated from one another or becoming alienated, it is certainly important to talk about what's going on. But one mistake that rejected parents make is to try to show their concern by asking a lot of questions. This often backfires rather than helps. If you've experienced this, the questions are likely to make you feel interrogated rather than cared about. And it may feel like their questions imply criticism, not at all what your parent wants you to feel. Another mistake that some rejected parents make is to counter all the bad-mouthing by saying bad things about the other one. This makes children feel bad and only makes things worse. But rejected parents shouldn't be reluctant to set the record straight when children say things that are wrong or unfair. Your children need help to deal with complaints they hear about you. For instance, a child says, "Mommy says you didn't spend much time with us and we never had any fun together." You can respond, "Mommy's mistaken." Remind the children of specific things you've done for them and with them. Bring out family videos and photos showing better times together.
When a rejected parent overreacts to the children, it's very important for the parent to acknowledge that they made a mistake and to apologize for it. It can be very difficult for a rejected parent to do that, though, because they feel they've been treated so unfairly. The children have been so disrespectful and treated them with such utter contempt that the rejected parent has a hard time acknowledging that he or she contributed to the children's conflict. But it's important that they acknowledge their mistake and take responsibility for it.
We've already said that rejected parents should never give up. Their children are worth fighting for. But what else can they do to help? We'll have more to say about this later in the program, but here are a few tips. First and foremost, rejected parents should remember that their children are victims. They didn't want this mess, they just got caught in it, and are doing their best to cope with something they don't fully understand. Second, rejected parents should hold back from arguing and criticizing when their angry children invite them to argue and criticize. It's important to remember that being in a relationship is more important than being right. Rejected parents need to develop a thick skin to withstand all the hurtful things their children say and do. Third, rejected parents should watch and wait for unexpected opportunities to help their children. Big school projects or medical problems offer opportunities to show interest, caring, and concern. When rejected parents make mistakes, they're acting like all parents do from time to time. Even parents who aren't rejected make some of these mistakes, especially when they're stressed. We hope your parents will learn from this program to avoid these traps. But keep in mind that parents are more than just their mistakes. Maybe it's time to cut them some slack. What should you do if you're a parent with an alienated child? If your child used to have a better relationship with you or with your ex, and you know in your heart that your child would be happier getting back to normal, here's some advice that other families find helpful. Children will want to listen to these tips. When parents slip up, and all parents make mistakes, you can remind mom and dad about how to do a better job. If you are the favored parent, you may believe that your children are better off away from the other parent, that your ex really is so bad that the children should hate or fear them. If you believe this, you should know that the anger and disappointment that goes along with a breakup makes it very difficult, even for the best parents, to understand that their children need both of you. Before deciding that your children don't need the other parent in their lives, do your kids a favor and at least consider the possibility that you may be too close to the situation. When emotions are strong, it's hard to see what's best for your children. Others may see things more clearly. Do respected professionals or the court believe that your children should repair their damaged relationship with your ex? Accept guidance from them. Perhaps you know, down deep, that your ex is not as bad for the children as you feel.
Loving parents want to do anything they can to relieve their children's suffering. Make no mistake about it. Children who lose a parent, for whatever reason, are suffering. And favored parents and rejected parents need to keep this in mind before they allow a child to disown a parent. When children grow up, They let us know that despite their rejection of the parent, they didn't want to be taken seriously. They didn't want the relationship to end.
Children who lose a parent under any circumstances, death, divorce, alienation, are damaged. They may not show their hurt, but surely you know that such a big loss, and sometimes it includes other relatives, leaves scars on children. The harm is not just during childhood. People who grow up without the ability to love and accept love from a parent are much more likely to suffer serious emotional problems. Children who grow up thinking they have a good parent and a bad parent often reach the same conclusion about themselves. Part of me is all good and part of me is all bad. These children go back and forth between feeling great and feeling awful. Alienated children often see their friends in the same way, all good or all bad. When conflicts come up with a friend, alienated children often do the same thing they did with their rejected parent. They reject that friend rather than work it out. One of the unfortunate lessons that alienated children learn is to avoid relationships that have problems rather than learning to manage these problems. And what relationship doesn't have problems? This can make for a very lonely life. Alienated children are more prone to depression when they grow up. And listen closely to this. They are angry with their parents. Both parents. They realize that one parent used them to hurt the other parent. The parent who was favored in the past may now be rejected. Blowback.
I tell favored parents that when your children grow up, they may understand and appreciate that your mistakes kept them from having a relationship with their other parent. And they may reject you so that you'll find out what it's like to lose your children. But rejected parents aren't off the hook, because when children grow up, they're angry with that parent too. They feel that that parent should have worked harder to maintain the relationship. How could you have let me end the relationship, the children ask? You wouldn't let me stop going to school. You wouldn't let me avoid a doctor if I needed to see the doctor. You didn't even let me ride a bicycle without a helmet. How could you have put a child in charge of such a life-altering decision?
It's not always easy for parents to know how to help children with these problems. Take a hard, honest look at your motives and feelings. Ask tough questions. Do I have it in for my ex? Am I ignoring my child's need to love both parents? Does it really help my children to hear me putting down their parent? Wise parents understand that although they may have little use for their ex, their children need to have the best relationship possible with both parents. Although you probably feel angry and disappointed, and you might be tempted to tell your kids just how you feel, don't. It will only hurt them. It may help to picture your family canoeing down some rapids. To get to the end safely and have some fun getting there, you must follow the current rather than fight it. At the same time, you must paddle skillfully to stay on course. To do this well, you must avoid two mistakes. One is to do nothing and hope that time will heal the problem. This risks a lot of frustration, maybe even tragedy. The current might land you on the rocks. The second mistake is reacting too strongly. Fighting the current too hard will exhaust you and you will still end up on the rocks. Finding the right balance is not easy, but your family's well-being is at stake. Certainly the effort is worth it. So what can divorced parents do to keep themselves and their kids from crashing on the rocks when tensions run high? To protect your children and your relationship with them, here are some tips to better manage these difficult situations. Children, pay close attention so you'll know that when your parents follow these tips, they are trying to do what's best for you. Tip 1. Follow the parenting plan. Make sure the children spend the time with each parent that they're supposed to. Children may not like this advice. They might think, it's my life, I should decide when I'll be with my parents. But letting kids run the parenting plan gives them too much control. They may then decide that they can do whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do it. Once kids have this control, it's hard to get it back. You can exercise authority by letting your kids know that you will enforce the rules about seeing the other parent just like you would if they skipped class or stopped doing homework.
When a parent violates court orders and encourages the children to do the same, they're teaching the wrong message. They're teaching that it's okay to disobey the law. Instead, children need to learn that when you're having problems with someone, deal with them. Don't avoid them.
Avoid scheduling children's activities that occur when they are supposed to be with your ex, or discuss it with your ex before involving your children. Otherwise, you set up a bad situation. If the other parent doesn't let the children attend, they'll be mad. If the other parent agrees, the children might conclude that you call the shots and the other parent is a pushover. Also, don't make your children feel that you need them to stay home to take care of you rather than spend time with the other parent. Tip 2. No bad-mouthing. Don't say mean or nasty things about the other parent. This is so important. Do you remember how you felt when someone put down one of your parents? Children hate it. They take it personally. When you badmouth a parent, you badmouth the child. The child who is convinced that one of his parents is bad feels ashamed. Children need to feel proud of their parents.
If you think that there's something unflattering about the other parent that the children need to hear, ask yourself, how would I talk to the children about this during the marriage if my goal was to protect the children's high regard for that parent? For example, if a father is chronically late when it's time to pick his children up, the mother could explain to the children that yes, dad's late, lots of people have that problem. It doesn't mean he doesn't love you, and he always shows up.
Be careful that your words and the tone of your voice express respect for the other parent, not contempt. Refer to them as mom or dad, not by the first name. Avoid gestures like frowning and rolling your eyes when discussing the other parent. Children can tell when you are more interested in hearing bad things than good about the other parent. If you ask, "Do you think your mom would rather date her boyfriend than spend time with you on Saturday night?" it's pretty clear that you're searching for things to criticize. By your gestures and words, children learn to say what you want to hear. Let them know that in addition to complaints, you want to hear good things about their time with the other parent, and you want them to feel free to express complaints they have about you. Here is some advice for children. Everyone has the right to their own relationship with each parent without having to see things just as the parents do. You can learn a lot of good things from your parents, but learning to hate is not one of them. You have a right to love and respect both your parents, regardless of how they feel about each other and what they say about each other. Tip 3. Keep your children out of adult matters, such as what is going on in court. Involving them may help you feel better, but it burdens children. Just as good parents screen children from seeing inappropriate content in movies and video games, parents should also screen kids from divorce issues. Tip 4. There are times, though, when children need help to see things more accurately. Find a way to correct their false beliefs about you without adding to the tensions. For instance, if the children accuse you of never doing anything with them, you can remind them of the things that you did do. Without putting down their other parent, simply say, "That's not correct. Someone made a mistake." If they don't believe you, show them pictures and other proof of the way things were. Tip 5. At public events, treat your ex with courtesy and respect, and encourage your children to do the same. Sports practices and games, school, church or temple events, and family celebrations all give opportunities to teach your children to be polite. When family members attend an event, expect your children to do the right thing and greet the family warmly. Don't teach your kids that it's okay to disrespect adults. The day may come when they treat you the same way.
It's not necessary for parents to sit together at athletic events or school events. They don't have to act like great buddies, but what the children do need is for their parents to act civil and polite with each other at public events. In some unfortunate families, parents are just incapable of attending public events together without creating a scene. And in that case, the best that we can offer is to tell parents that they should only attend those public events that occur when the children are scheduled to be with them. Because it's far better for a child if a parent misses a big game than for the child to have to witness a big argument. Parents' arguments should be viewed as R-rated, not suitable for children to see or hear.
Tip 6. Make exchanges as free of tension as possible. Moving from one parent's care to the other can be difficult for everyone. Saying goodbye and saying hello, feeling sad and feeling happy. Parents hold the key to making transitions easier by using normal good manners and courtesy. Your children are watching you. Show them how to be civil even with people you don't like. Parents make things worse when they use exchanges to trade insults, bring up angry topics, or pump the children for information about the other parent. The parent who receives the children should not bombard them with questions about their time with the other. This makes children feel nervous and annoyed, and usually they want to clam up. Some children feel pressure to report only bad things, as though that is all you want to hear. Children should not be made to feel like spies who tattle on their parents.
Being oversympathetic to the children's complaints can make it harder for them to go from one parent's care to the other's. Show understanding, but be firm and exercise your authority.
If exchanges have been a problem in your family, particularly if parents can't be polite to each other, it may be better for exchanges to take place at the start and the end of the school day. Or parents can leave children at a relative or a friend for the other parent to pick them up a little later. In extreme cases, parents use professionals to make sure the exchange goes well. Tip 7. Don't make a big deal out of minor mishaps. One dad made a scene at his son's soccer game because mom forgot to bring the shin guards. The boy joined in and yelled that she was a terrible mother. It became a big deal. But it didn't have to be. The coach had a spare set. Before the divorce, when parents forgot things, it was never a big deal, and it doesn't have to be now. Tip 8. Help relatives, friends, and teachers maintain neutrality. Don't encourage them to take sides. Children need people who shield them from tension and hostility. Tip 9. Rejected parents should spend time with the children in the presence of other people who treat you nicely. If your kids see cousins, teammates, and their parents enjoying your company and showing respect and affection, it may remind your children that the rest of the world does not see you as all bad. When they see you through the eyes of people who like you, they will be more able to see the good in you. Tip 10. Help your children accept that moms and dads do things differently. Some are strict, some are easygoing, some enjoy sports, others enjoy the arts. Some want to help with homework. Some want children to do homework on their own. Don't make it hard for your children to respect the other parent by giving them the idea that your way is better than the other parent's way. Let's recap. Follow court orders. No bad-mouthing. Keep children out of adult matters. Correct false beliefs. Treat each other with respect. Keep exchanges between homes tension-free. Don't make mountains out of molehills. Keep others out of your conflicts. Spend time with people who treat you well. Accept parents' differences.
Parents need to show how much they care about their children by doing the hard thing. Put your children's welfare above your impulse to hurt your ex. Shield the children from your negative feelings. Let them have the benefit of growing up with two loving parents. When your children do grow up, they'll thank you for it.
If you're alienated, you may not think you need to do anything about it. Maybe you want to take sides with your favored parent. You may believe that your other parent deserves to be rejected, or you cannot forgive them for their mistakes. Eventually, you may want to make things better, but not right now. So before telling you what you can do to help, let's talk about why it's so important that you do repair the damaged relationships, and that you do so as soon as possible. Psychologists have discovered that children who grow up with one parent instead of two are more likely to be unhappy and troubled, not only as children, but also as grown-ups. It stands to reason, one parent, no matter how great, can't do the work of two parents. You can't learn as much from one parent as from two. One parent may prepare meals, nurse injuries, and soothe fears. Another parent may teach you to play ball, build and fix things, and deal with bullies.
They say that they wish that they had not been taken so seriously, that they never stopped loving that parent, and that they should not have been allowed as children to make a decision to end contact with that parent. They feel the rejected parent should have tried harder to restore a positive relationship. And they're angry at the favored parent for having acted in such a way as to make it difficult to maintain a good relationship with the other parent. And the children feel guilty about themselves. They look back and think that they were too mean to the parent, and they feel bad about having treated the parent in such a shabby fashion. Children regret all that they missed out on by not having the rejected parent involved in their lives. They're sad that that parent wasn't part of their school events, wasn't there at dance recitals, wasn't there for athletic events, wasn't there at school graduations, may not even have been there when the child grew up and got married. They've lost a lot, and they know they have, and they can't make it up.
Some clever children may catch on before they grow up. After learning about alienation, maybe in this show, they realize that they got caught up in a situation that was not what they wanted and not good for them. It really isn't very fair. Before the divorce, you had two parents you loved both, you had fun with and felt protected by them. Why should you lose one parent just because your parents live apart? Divorce is supposed to be between the grown-ups. It's bad enough that you have to get used to living in two homes. Why should you also have to choose between your parents? There is one more reason why it's time to reconnect with your rejected parent. Face it, it doesn't feel very good to act mean and disrespectful. It feels wrong, and it is wrong. And why do it now instead of waiting for the right time? Because in some families, the right time never comes around. When children first start becoming alienated, they don't realize that they're going down a path that may end in the complete loss of the parent, and sometimes all that parent's relatives. Before they know it, alienated children have boxed themselves into a corner where they no longer get to see their grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. They may act like they don't care, but down deep, most children are smart enough to realize that they've lost something valuable when they can't tell their grandma that they love her and can't even say thanks when they receive birthday cards and gifts. Truly, being alienated is a very sad thing to be. The saddest situation is when a parent or grandparent dies before you've repaired the relationship. Even if you do reconnect with your parent in the future, nothing can ever make up for all the lost time. So, instead of being stuck in a bad situation and grow up with only half of your family, let's see what you can do to protect yourself from becoming alienated and what you can do to overcome the problem if you already are alienated. It helps to understand why children choose sides when their parents fight. First, choosing sides makes children feel less confused about which side is right. Second, children sympathize with parents who act sad and helpless. It's like rooting for the underdog. Some children choose sides to feel accepted, like they belong to a club, the We Hate Daddy Club or the We Hate Mommy Club. These children learn to hate one parent to feel loved by the other.
Many children side with one parent, say dad, because they're afraid that dad will be mean to them if they don't agree that mom is bad. In some cases, a parent will actually tell children that if you want to spend time with the other parent, don't expect to live with me. Most times when parents make these threats, they're exaggerating. They would never follow through on the threats. They don't really want the children to stop loving the other parent. They don't realize how unfair it is to the children. They're just angry and don't realize what they're putting the children through. Unfortunately, though, If the children take these threats seriously, the children may feel like they have no choice but to take sides with the parent who's making the threats.
You probably know that feeling caught in the middle between your parents is no fun. One girl drew this picture to show what it felt like. She placed one part of her family on the left and the other part on the right. Everyone took sides except her. She was right in the middle. But being in the middle meant she didn't feel completely part of either family. That's why she drew herself at the bottom. Not choosing sides meant not feeling part of either family. So how can you avoid taking sides but still not feel caught in the middle? Like a wide receiver who knows how to break tackles or a gymnast who knows how to do backflips, you need special knowledge and skills. One way to stay out of the middle is to take time to see the problem from other points of view. One teenager learned to say, "Step back, walk to the other side, see it from the other side." This helped him understand his father's frustration with his mother's behavior. How can you tell if you have good reasons or bad reasons for rejecting a parent? Try this experiment. Next time you go to your parents' home, instead of thinking about how you don't like your mom or your dad, you just tell yourself that this time you're going to have a good time and act like you used to when you liked that parent. After you do this, ask yourself, which feels better? When I go over there with anger and hate, or when I go over there and get along? If you're like most people, it will feel much better to get along well with both parents. Another tip. Children benefit when they get involved in activities and interests outside the family. Joining school clubs and teams or after-school activities takes your mind off worries. For example, if you like outdoor activities, such as camping, rock climbing, bicycling, these are great ways to take you away from family problems. Time with friends, especially those who remind you not to take sides, can help. Some children say they couldn't have made it without the help of their friends. Avoid friends who encourage you to get angry with your parents. It's important to have friends who understand, but just as important to have friends who help you find better ways to handle your feelings. But you don't always have to get away from your family to feel better. You can remain connected to both parents without getting caught in the middle by finding special things to do with each one. One girl spent time with her father learning how to fish. From her mother, she learned how to draw. She calls this choosing both sides.
The best way to stay out of the middle is to ask your parents to stop speaking badly about the other parent. Tell them, "I don't like it when people say bad things about you, and I don't like it when you say bad things about my other parent. You need to stop." And if a parent lets off some steam by talking badly about the other parent, ask them to stop. Tell them to talk to an adult or a friend about it because you don't want to hear it.
Sometimes it helps if you simply ask your parents why. Why are you talking like this? This simple question can help your parents stop and realize that you don't really need to hear bad-mouthing.
If you're worried that one parent won't accept you if you love the other parent, it's best to ask your parent, "I want to love both parents and I don't want to take sides. Will you still love me if I love my other parent?" Almost all parents will say yes. And by doing so, they're letting you know that it's okay for you to have a relationship with both parents, just as you need.
Many children ask, what should I do if my parents won't stop saying bad things about each other, even when I ask them to? If you have faced that problem, try acting bored, change the subject, or simply walk away. This is called the NR response, no response. Sometimes NR is the most powerful response of all. You can also make your point in creative ways. One girl made this picture for her parents. She wanted them to understand that the main problem was their negative attitudes, not the things they disagreed about. When parents receive a note, they know you took the time to think about what you wanted to say. You show courage when you write about your feelings. It's a powerful way to let your parents know how you feel. Another tip. Ask for advice from an adult, like a counselor or religious leader or an aunt or uncle. Sometimes they will talk to parents and help them understand how important it is to stop bad-mouthing about each other. We end this program with a true story about Daniel, a young man who wrote to Dr. Warshak.
Dan thanked me for helping him understand what had happened to his relationship with his father. He never knew why he hated his father. His father never did anything to Dan that any reasonable person would think was cause for hatred. And Dan knew that his mother's negative attitudes shaped his view of his father. His mother never got over her anger about the divorce. Then, Dan told me his sad story.
Dear Dr. Warshak, when I was 9, my mom said that if I even talked to my father, she would throw me out of the house. From that point on, I never saw or spoke to him. When I was at college, I acted like I didn't need my dad. My girlfriend saw through this. She knew me better and encouraged me to reach out to him. In my heart, I knew she was right. I told myself that one day, soon, I would call him, but I kept putting it off. Finally, I got the courage to call him. I don't know why. I just decided the time was right. But I was too late. A lady answered the phone. She told me that my dad had died 1 month before. I was stunned. When she learned who I was, she told me that my dad wanted me to know that he never stopped loving me. He never gave up hope that someday I would return to him. I can't fully describe my feelings. Heartbroken, sure, filled with regret. I was overcome by guilt and shame for not having spoken with my father before he died. I never got a chance to tell my dad, I love you. I missed out on so much. We missed out on so much. Now I have to live with this regret for the rest of my life. Dr. Warshak, please keep teaching people about this terrible problem. I don't want other children to suffer like me. Dan.
It's too late for Dan, but it's not too late for you. You can simply tell your rejected parent, let's wipe the slate clean and start over. I really do love you and want you in my life. Or if your parent is not with you, pick up a phone and make the call that will pay off for the rest of your life. Do this, not just for you, but for the kids you may have one day. They deserve to know your parents, their grandparents. Don't put it off. Don't fool yourself into thinking that you can do it some other time. The future is unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen. Life can be taken from us suddenly with no advanced warning. You'll never meet a person who regrets coming back to a rejected parent, but you'll meet plenty who regret not reconnecting and who suffer for the rest of their lives because they didn't. Be smart. Don't let your parents' mistakes keep you from your right to love and be loved by two parents. Reach out to your rejected parent. You'll be glad you did.